I hadn't heard from Caleb in months, maybe longer. A few fragmented texts, a couple late-night missed calls, strange one-word replies. But then, out of nowhere, he called me. He sounded happy, like really happy. That old warmth in his voice I hadn't heard since we were kids, full of energy, like something amazing had happened and he couldn't wait to share it. "You're not going to believe what I found," he said. "It's in the old drain system. I think we missed it all those years ago. Or maybe it wasn't there before." I laughed, but there was a flutter in my chest, like hope or dread, or both. I asked him if he was okay. "I'm better than okay. I feel alive, like I used to. You remember that? When we felt like the tunnels belonged to us?" He was talking fast, breathless, but I heard something else underneath. Not fear exactly, closer to hunger. He wanted to go back in, and he wanted me with him. I said yes before I even knew why. Maybe I missed who we were. Maybe I missed him. Or maybe some forgotten part of me just wanted to believe again, that we'd stumbled onto something special. We met by the old runoff ditch behind Lincoln Park, just after sunset. The kind of dusky half-light that makes everything look like a memory. It hadn't rained in days, so the tunnels would be dry. Caleb looked thinner, gaunt in a way that didn't look natural. His hoodie hung off him like he'd lost weight too fast, and his cheeks were hollow like he hadn't been sleeping. But he was smiling. Wide. Too wide. His eyes stayed open a beat too long between blinks. I started to ask if he was okay, but then paused. Something about the whole thing felt backwards, like I was stepping into a conversation that had already happened. I kept thinking about the phone call, how excited he'd sounded, how sure he'd been. But the memory felt strange, like I was missing something important. I shook it off and looked at him. "You brought a light?" he asked. I showed him my old mag light. "Perfect," he said, and turned to climb down the rusted ladder. I followed. The air changed the moment we dropped in. Cooler, heavier, like stepping into a sealed box. We walked deeper, our boots echoing down the long concrete artery. It should have felt nostalgic, but it didn't. It felt hollow, like a house stripped of furniture. The old graffiti was still there, some of it anyway. Most had faded, others were smeared, but a few messages stood out in fresh black ink. Warm and waiting, skin remembers, for a good time call, and a smeared out phone number. Then at a fork in the tunnel, Caleb turned left, toward a sloped passage I didn't recognize. "This wasn't part of the old map," I said. He just grinned. "Exactly." The corridor led us to a collapsed section of wall. Not a clean break, more like something had punched from the inside. Beyond the rubble was a ragged hole that dripped with condensation. Mold bloomed around the edges like bruises. "You first," he said. He didn't wait for me to respond, just ducked into the dark, my heart hammering loudly in my chest, pulse pounding in my ears. I hesitated, breath caught in my throat. The air leaking from that hole felt too warm, too wet. A faint clicking sound echoed softly, like fingers tapping rhythmically on glass, building in the distance. My skin prickled, every nerve alert. But I followed. The tunnel past the breach didn't feel like anything built by human hands. It curved subtly, like the inside of something's ribcage. The concrete gave way to a softer surface underfoot. Still solid, but wrong. Spongy. There were no sharp corners anymore. Just folds and bulges along the walls, as if it had grown that way. It smelled alive, damp and sour and strange. The deeper we went, the more the tunnel changed. The air thickened, not just humid, viscous, like breathing through fabric. My light picked up strands hanging from the ceiling, webbing, but not like any spiders. Thicker, translucent. Veins pulsed faintly inside them. Then I saw the sacs, dozens of them, clustered in a corner like tumors. Each one the size of a baseball, semi-clear and faintly quivering. Something shifted inside one, brushing the inner membrane. I turned away, bile rising. A dry retch stuck in my throat. Caleb didn't react. He walked straight toward them, ducking under a curtain of webbing. I grabbed his shoulder. "Caleb, what is this?" He paused, not looking at me. "They weren't here before. They made this recently." "They?" He looked back. His eyes were dilated. His skin, damp with sweat, glistened under my flashlight. "I think they've been waiting." He slipped through a narrow crevice between the walls, barely wide enough for a person. It looked like a split wound. "Caleb, wait." But he was already gone. My pulse hammering, my heart racing uncontrollably, and the clicking grew louder, sharp, impatient. I swallowed hard, forcing my legs to follow. On the other side, the world had changed completely. The walls were slick with something dark and fibrous, like the inside of a lung. I moved slowly, light trembling in my hand. Every few steps I'd see something move just outside the beam. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then I found Caleb. He was suspended in webbing, half upright, like he'd been pinned there mid-motion. His arms were cocooned tight against his body, his mouth sealed. Only his eyes moved, frantic, darting toward me. "Jesus!" I stepped forward, reaching for my pocket knife. He jerked in place, his whole torso rippling like a bag of fluid. Something inside him shifted. A bulge slid beneath the skin of his chest. Then another. His neck pulsed. I staggered back, bile burning my throat. My hand slipped from the knife's handle. I dropped it, the clatter ringing sharp against the silence. I should have turned and run, but something rooted me to the floor. Maybe guilt, maybe hope, maybe something worse. I had nearly cut Caleb free when I heard it. A sharp click. 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 Like bone tapping on glass. Then the wet slap of something dragging across concrete. It emerged from the dark, pale, dog-sized, joints bending wrong. Its legs ended in points that clicked as they moved, fast and precise. Its abdomen was swollen, slick with some kind of slime that left a trail behind it. I froze. It didn't. It rushed me. I swung the flashlight. The beam caught it full in the face. It shrieked, a dry rattling sound that made my skin crawl. I could feel my chest tighten, my breath catch, and my hands shake uncontrollably. And then, it stopped, just stood there, twitching, legs flexing like it was deciding. Then, without warning, it scuttled backward, into the shadows, gone. I stood there shaking, soaked in sweat and something else. The walls were wet, the ground was slick, and all I could hear was that faint, retreating click, 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 echoing like teeth chattering in the dark. It shouldn't have left. Not that easy. Not like that. I forced myself to move, heart pounding. Caleb was still there, wrapped tight in silk, half embedded in the wall. His eyes flickered, mouth sealed shut. His whole body twitched. Beneath his skin, something pulsed and writhed, like it was desperate to escape. I gagged, but I couldn't leave him. Glancing down, I spotted my knife lying just a few feet away. I scrambled to it, heart hammering, grabbed it, and steadied my shaking hands. With a sharp breath, I started slicing through the webbing. I saw something push against the skin, stretching it like latex, then slide away. His eyes were wide but glassy. His chest heaved in tiny stuttered breaths. I cut faster. That's when the sound came again. Not just one, dozens. Clicking, crawling, skittering. They poured from cracks in the walls, from the ceiling, from broken sacks. Dozens of them, maybe more. All twitching, all watching. I lifted Caleb's limp form and ran, slipping in the slime, dragging him when I had to. The sounds followed, fast, hungry. At the exit, I turned back, just for a moment, and saw it. Not the brood, something else, too large, breathing, watching me. We got out. Somehow, I hauled Caleb up the ladder, into the night, into air that felt wrong. He didn't speak for days. He was pale, sweating, skin crawling with 1,000 tiny itches. One night, he grabbed my arm with sudden strength. "There's something under my skin," he said, voice breaking. And then he showed me. Beneath the thin skin of his neck, a dark shape moved, like a tiny spider wriggling just beneath the surface. I made a careful cut, and out it slid. We caught it, a small, spider-like creature. I thought that would be the end. But when Caleb turned over to go to sleep, I saw it. His skin was moving, not just on the surface, but deep under it. Dozens of tiny shadows writhing beneath the flesh. They came out that night. I woke to screaming. Caleb's body bucked on the mattress, limbs flailing, eyes rolled back. His skin twisted with motion, shifting lumps under the surface, too fast and sharp to be muscle spasm. One of them tore through, just under his collarbone. A tiny leg punched out, glossy and sharp, followed by the rest of its twitching body. Blood sprayed in a fan across the wall. Then another burst from his thigh, then his side. They didn't crawl. They spilled, wet and fast. Tiny pale things, 8-legged, jointed wrong, glossy and slick. Some clambered over each other, some scuttled down his legs. They hit the floor and scattered in every direction, vanishing into cracks, vents, the closet, the drain in the bathroom sink. It was over in seconds. I stood frozen, heart beating so fast I couldn't breathe. His body slumped back into the mattress. Still, head tilted, eyes open. I could still see one squirming inside his cheek. I turned and ran, grabbed the phone, hands slick, dialed 911, and babbled into the receiver. "He's dead. He's dying. They came out of him. There were things in him. Please, you have to come." I left the phone hanging and ran back to his room. But Caleb was gone. Sheets drenched in blood. No sign of him. Not even a drag mark. Just an indentation in the mattress where he'd been. The wet heat of a room that had just held a body. The police arrived first, then the ambulance, then the detectives. I was sitting in the hallway shaking. They questioned me right there. Later, they did it again, in a white room with no windows. They asked why I lured Caleb into the storm drains. I told them he called me. They said a witness had been with Caleb that night, said they saw Caleb get a call from me, that he looked uneasy, that he didn't want to go, but I insisted, that I was the one who asked him to meet near Lincoln Park. They asked what I did with the body. They said the blood pattern suggested violence, not infection, not some parasite. I tried to explain what happened. I told them about the tunnels, the webbing, the eggs, the things that came out. But there was no evidence of that part. No photos, no Caleb. Just my fingerprints and Caleb's blood and a house that looked like a crime scene. They didn't arrest me right away, but a week later, they came to my apartment with a warrant. They took my knives, my boots, my phone. They charged me with manslaughter and obstruction. I don't know how they expect to prosecute without a body, but they seem confident it'll turn up eventually. They think I killed him and dumped him somewhere. That all this parasite talk is just some kind of psychotic episode. Maybe they're right. I've been in county for almost a month, and I'm getting worse. It started as a twitch behind my ear, small, almost imperceptible. Then the itching came, deep beneath the skin, relentless and raw. I told the nurse. She examined me briefly and handed me some cream. "Stress," she said. "It happens. Try to relax." The guards just rolled their eyes and told me I was fishing for a psych ward transfer, but I kept insisting. I told them something was moving inside me, that I wasn't crazy. After a few days, they put me in solitary. The isolation didn't help. If anything, it made the crawling worse. The itching intensified. The skin around the sores grew tight and shiny. I caught a glimpse of my arm under the harsh fluorescent light. Lumps writhed beneath my skin, pulsing and squirming. I pressed down on one. It squirmed. It was alive. Panic clawed up my throat, but no one listened. At night, my body convulsed uncontrollably. I'd wake gasping, drenched in sweat, my muscles spasming like they were being controlled by something else. Last night was the worst. I woke choking on the thick slime filling my mouth. When I coughed it up, something landed in the sink. Tiny legs, still twitching. I stared in horror. The clicking started, sharp, rapid, maddening. Inside my skull, under my skin, I clawed at my neck and chest. The skin tore open. Dozens of tiny black shapes wriggled in and out of my flesh, parasites burrowing tunnels inside me. Blood poured down my arms. I couldn't stop. I could feel them moving. I could feel them crawling inside me. My heartbeat thundered. My vision blurred. I'm losing control. Every moment, more sacs burst beneath my skin. Every breath brings new pain, new crawling horror. I don't know how much longer I can hold this.
Officer Riley's report. Date: redacted. Subject: inmate disappearance, solitary confinement cell. 7B. At approximately 2:45 a.m., routine check of solitary confinement cell 7B revealed that the inmate, name redacted, was missing. The cell was secured and locked from the outside, with no signs of forced entry or exit. Upon further inspection, a significant amount of blood was found smeared across the walls and pooling on the floor. However, no body or physical remains were present. The inmate's placement in solitary was later determined to be against standard protocol, as medical staff had not authorized isolation. This violation prompted an internal review of the officers involved in the decision and subsequent supervision. Multiple officers were interviewed regarding the inmate's treatment and last known condition. Reports indicate the inmate complained repeatedly of severe itching, pain, and movement under the skin. These complaints were largely dismissed or attributed to stress by medical personnel and security staff. The lack of physical evidence and the inmate's sudden disappearance have raised suspicion and concern. Theories of self-harm or escape are considered improbable due to the secure nature of the cell. Further investigation is ongoing to determine the cause of the disappearance and to locate the missing individual.